I spent 8 years building what I thought was a happy marriage with my wife Amanda. As the owner of a small construction company, I worked hard to give us a comfortable life. But last Tuesday I came home early with anniversary flowers and overheard her telling her best friend Tasha that she regrets settling for boring, unambitious Bronson and how her coworker Jackson is everything a real man should be. My world stopped as I stood frozen outside our kitchen door hearing the woman I love describe me as her biggest regret. Before I tell you how my world shattered that afternoon and the unbelievable way karma served justice, drop a comment letting me know where you are watching from, and subscribe if you have ever discovered someone was not who you thought they were. I met Amanda when I was 28, at our mutual friend Kyle's summer barbecue. She stood out immediately with her confident laugh and easy way of working the crowd. I was more reserved, hanging back by the grill and chatting with people who approached me. When she finally made her way over, she complimented the burger I had helped Kyle prepare and struck up a conversation about local restaurants. Something just clicked between us. My background was solidly blue-collar. My dad worked at the same manufacturing plant for 30 years, and my mom was a school secretary. They taught me the value of honest work and saving for what matters. After high school, I went straight into construction rather than college. By 21, I was managing small crews, and by 25, I had started my own modest company, focusing on residential renovations. When Amanda and I started dating, she seemed impressed by my independence. "You built this business yourself," she would say, running her hand across the logo on my truck. "That takes real determination." I was proud that she saw that in me. She worked in marketing then for a local business. Nothing fancy, but she enjoyed it. We complemented each other well. I was practical, reliable, and detail-oriented. She was social, spontaneous, and brought color into my otherwise structured life. After 2 years of dating, I proposed during a weekend trip to Lake Tahoe. The wedding was small but beautiful, just close friends and family, at a renovated barn venue that I had actually worked on the year before. We bought a modest 3-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood. Not luxury by any means, but comfortable with a good yard and potential for improvements, which I gradually made during weekends and evenings. For the first 5 years, we seemed happy. We had our routines, our favorite local restaurants, game nights with friends, and weekend hikes when weather permitted. We talked about having kids eventually, but were enjoying our time together first. I expanded my business, hiring 4 full-time employees and taking on larger residential projects. The shift began 3 years ago when Amanda landed a job at Prestige Marketing Associates, a firm that handled several national accounts. Suddenly, she was attending client dinners, traveling occasionally to regional meetings, and mixing with executives from major companies. I was genuinely happy for her success. She had always been ambitious, and I supported her completely. But something changed in how she saw our life together. What had once been cozy became cramped. Our furniture was suddenly outdated. My work clothes, always practical and often dusty, became an embarrassment when her colleagues dropped by. My friends, mostly other contractors and people I had known for years, were too simple for her new social circle. "Do not you want more?" Bronson became a common question. "Do not you want to grow beyond just local home renovations?" When I explained that I loved working with my hands, enjoyed knowing my clients personally, and took pride in improving my community house by house, she would sigh with obvious disappointment. I still remember our 8th anniversary vividly. I had planned to surprise her by coming home early with flowers and reservations at a new upscale restaurant downtown that she had been hinting about. My last job of the day finished ahead of schedule, so I quietly entered through our front door, around 3 in the afternoon, hearing Amanda's voice from the kitchen, along with her friend Tasha's distinctive laugh. I was about to announce my presence when I heard my name. "Bronson just does not get it," Amanda was saying, her voice laced with frustration. "He is completely satisfied with his little construction business and our basic suburban house. No ambition to move up." "But he seems sweet," Tasha replied. "And his business is doing well, right?" "Sweet does not get you a vacation home or country club membership," Amanda said with a bitter laugh. "You should see Jackson's condo downtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows, rooftop pool, wine cellar. And when we went to lunch yesterday, the restaurant owner knew him by name." My feet felt rooted to the floor as she continued. "Jackson understands the importance of connections of appearance. Bronson thinks a new power drill is an exciting purchase. It is embarrassing introducing him to people from work. He talks about foundation repairs and kitchen backsplashes, like anyone cares. Are things really that bad? Tasha asked. There was a pause then. Amanda's voice lowered. I should have waited for someone better. I just settled because he was stable and I was turning 30. Now I watch Jackson move through life with such confidence and style, and I look at Bronson with his calloused hands and practical approach to everything, and I just regret settling. Each word hit like a physical blow. Calloused hands from building our life together. Practical approaches that kept our finances stable and our future secure. These were points of pride for me, not failings. But to Amanda, they were emblems of her disappointment. I backed away silently, flowers still clutched in my hand, and slipped out the front door. In my truck, I sat staring at the dashboard, trying to process what I had just heard. The woman I loved, who I thought loved me, saw our entire relationship as a compromise, a settling for less than she deserved. I drove around for hours past houses I had worked on, neighborhoods where I had transformed rundown properties into beautiful homes. All the while Amanda's words echoed in my head, I regret settling. When I finally returned home that evening, I placed the wilted flowers in the trash outside and walked in with a fabricated story about a job running late. Amanda barely looked up from her phone, mentioning that she had already eaten dinner without me. I noticed her perfectly styled hair designer blouse and the subtle makeup that she had not been wearing when I left that morning. She had dressed up for her afternoon with Tasha, something she rarely did anymore for time with me. Everything okay? She asked absently, still scrolling through her phone. Fine, I replied, grabbing leftovers from the refrigerator. Just tired. The next few weeks were excruciating. Now that my eyes were opened, I noticed all the signs I had previously missed or dismissed. Amanda's phone that always faced down when not in use. The way she stepped outside to take certain calls. Her suddenly busy schedule of evening marketing events and weekend professional development seminars. Her new wardrobe of increasingly expensive clothes that she called investment pieces for my career. I found myself analyzing every interaction between us over the past year. The diminishing physical affection, her decreased interest in our shared activities, the subtle criticisms of my appearance, my work, my friends. Each memory recontextualized with the knowledge that she considered herself too good for me. One evening, while Amanda was showering, her phone lit up with a message on the coffee table. I had never been the type to snoop, but given what I had overheard, I glanced at the screen. The preview showed a message from Jay that read, "Miss you already. Lunch tomorrow, same place." That night I barely slept. The next morning I called an old friend who worked as a private investigator. "I hate to ask this, Marcus," I said, "but I need someone to watch Amanda for a few days. I think she is having an affair." Marcus agreed without pressing for details. 3 days later he delivered the evidence I both expected and dreaded. Photos of Amanda meeting a tall, polished-looking man in an expensive suit outside various restaurants. More damning images of them entering a boutique hotel during what should have been her lunch hour, not emerging until nearly 3 hours later. Their affectionate body language left no doubt about the nature of their relationship. The man was clearly Jackson based on corporate photos I found on her company website. Executive Vice President of Client Relations. Princeton educated. Featured in the regional business journal's 40 under 40 list. After a week of gathering evidence and consulting with a lawyer friend, I finally confronted Amanda. I chose a Sunday morning, when she was actually home, laying out the private investigator's photos on our kitchen table while she was having coffee. Her reaction was not what I expected. No tears, no desperate explanations or pleas for forgiveness. Instead, she studied the photos calmly, then looked up at me with an expression that bordered on relief. "I guess we should talk about this," she said, her voice eerily composed. "How long?" I asked. 4 months officially," she replied. "But there has been something between us since I started at Prestige." "Do you love him?" She sighed, setting down her coffee mug. "Jackson represents the life I want, Bronson. The life I should have. He understands ambition, social positioning, the importance of appearances, and I do not," I said flatly. "You are content with this." She gestured around our kitchen, "with staying exactly where you are forever. That is not enough for me anymore." What followed was not the conversation I had imagined. Rather than apologizing or seeking reconciliation, Amanda presented what amounted to an ultimatum. She wanted us to sell our house and move to a luxury condo downtown. She wanted me to elevate my business perhaps by hiring an image consultant and targeting high-end clients exclusively. She had already researched country clubs where we could apply for membership. Jackson says appearance is 90% of success, she informed me. We need to start operating at a higher level. We, I repeated. So, you plan to continue seeing him while we upgrade our life to meet your new standards? Her expression hardened. I did not say that. You did not have to. In the days that followed, I did some investigating of my own. I discovered Amanda had accumulated nearly $30,000 in credit card debt on our joint accounts, purchasing designer clothing, expensive restaurant meals, and even gifts for Jackson, including a $3,000 watch for his birthday. While appearing to consider her demands about selling our house, I quietly consulted with my lawyer about protecting my assets, particularly my business. I learned that Amanda had been gradually moving money from our joint savings to a private account, not enough to trigger my immediate attention, but substantial over time. During this period, I received an interesting call from Kyle, who now worked in the IT department at Amanda's company. Hey Bronson, got a minute? Something weird is happening here at Prestige that you should know about. Kyle explained that there were rumors of financial irregularities involving several executives, including Jackson. It had been asked to gather electronic records for an internal audit, and he had noticed some troubling patterns in the marketing department's expense reports and client billing. Amanda's name has come up in some of the emails I have had to archive, he said carefully. I am not saying she is involved, but you might want to keep your eyes open. This information gave me new perspective on Amanda's sudden push to liquidate our assets. Perhaps she knew something was coming and wanted to secure resources before it hit. While Amanda was increasingly absent from our home, spending time with Jackson and her new social circle, I focused on my construction business with renewed energy. Throwing myself into work provided distraction from my collapsing marriage and gave me purpose during a time when my personal life felt meaningless. A surprising opportunity came when I was contacted by Westbrook Development, a prominent regional developer known for high-quality residential communities. They had seen a renovation my team had completed and were impressed with our attention to detail. They offered us a contract to build 6 custom model homes for their new planned community, by far the largest project my company had ever undertaken. When I shared this news with Amanda, hoping for at least some acknowledgement of my professional achievement, I noticed a sudden shift in her attitude. For the first time in months, she seemed interested in my work. Westbrook is a prestigious name, she said, setting down her phone and giving me her full attention. This could be your chance to really establish yourself with the right clientele. Over the next week, her behavior toward me changed dramatically. She suggested dinner together at home. She asked questions about the Westbrook project. She even initiated physical affection one evening, something that had become rare. Her renewed interest confirmed everything I had suspected about her character. Now that my business held potential value to her image, I was worth her attention again. The realization solidified my resolve to proceed with my exit plan, which I had been quietly developing with my lawyer. While Amanda believed I was focused solely on the Westbrook contract, I was documenting her affair, tracking the financial discrepancies, and preparing for an inevitable separation. I maintained a facade of normalcy, even as I moved important documents and irreplaceable personal items to a storage unit Amanda knew nothing about. The karma Amanda never saw coming arrived on a Tuesday morning. She left for work as usual, kissing my cheek, with a newfound affection that now felt hollow. 3 hours later, she called me in a state of panic. The FBI is here, she whispered into the phone. They are seizing computers and files. Jackson and the CFO have been taken to a conference room for questioning. What is going on, I asked, though Kyle had already texted me a warning about federal agents arriving at Prestige. I do not know exactly, she said, her voice trembling. Something about financial fraud and misappropriation of client funds. Everyone is freaking out. By evening, the story had broken on local news. Prestige Marketing Associates was under federal investigation for a sophisticated billing fraud scheme that had allegedly defrauded clients of millions over several years. Jackson and 3 other executives were named as primary subjects in the investigation. Amanda arrived home, pale and shaken. They interviewed everyone in marketing, she said, collapsing onto our couch. They have records of all our client billings, expense reports, everything. Are you involved? I asked directly. Her eyes darted away from mine. Jackson asked me to adjust some marketing reports to match the billing statements. He said it was standard practice for client management. Her voice cracked. I did not know they were systematically overbilling. I swear I did not know the full extent. Over the next few days, the situation deteriorated rapidly. Prestige froze all employee accounts pending investigation. Jackson, initially released while the investigation continued, suddenly stopped responding to Amanda's increasingly desperate texts and calls. He blocked me, she said in disbelief, staring at her phone. After everything I did for him, he just cut me off. What exactly did you do for him, Amanda? I asked quietly. Her confession spilled out between sobs. She had indeed modified marketing performance reports to justify inflated billings that Jackson and the others had implemented. She had signed off on expense reports that contained fictitious client meetings. She had been a smaller part of a larger scheme, but involved nonetheless. I could lose my job, she cried. I could face charges. Bronson, you have to help me. We need a lawyer. We might need to use our savings for legal fees. I let her finish before speaking. Then I calmly went to my office and returned with the folder I had prepared weeks earlier. Amanda, I said, placing the divorce papers on the coffee table between us. I think we both know this marriage is over. Her expression transformed from desperation to shock. You cannot be serious. Now, when I need you most, I have known about Jackson for months, I said. I heard you tell Tasha you regretted settling for me. I found out about the credit card debt, the gifts you bought him with our money, the funds you have been diverting from our savings. She stared at me momentarily, speechless. But there is something else you should know, I continued. 3 weeks ago, I met with federal investigators and provided copies of company documents you had brought home and left in your home office. Documents that helped establish the pattern of fraud they are now investigating. The color drained from her face. What Kyle and IT noticed discrepancies months ago. When he told me your name had appeared in questionable emails, I started paying attention to the work materials you left around. Once I understood what I was looking at, I made the decision to turn it over to authorities. You betrayed me, she whispered. No, Amanda. You betrayed everything our marriage was supposed to stand for when you decided I was not good enough for you. When you cheated with Jackson. When you participated in fraud because it got you closer to the lifestyle you felt entitled to. In that moment, looking at her stunned expression, I felt no satisfaction, only profound sadness for what we had lost and what had never been real to begin with. The fallout was swift and comprehensive. Amanda was terminated from Prestige the following week. While she was not among those charged with the primary fraud, her complicity in altering documents meant she was named as a cooperating witness in the case against Jackson and the others. Her professional reputation was in tatters. Jackson, the sophisticated man who had looked down on my calloused hands and practical nature, fled the country when the investigation intensified, abandoning Amanda and his other colleagues. Federal charges were filed in his absence. His escape attempt proved short-lived, however, as authorities apprehended him in Mexico 3 months later, while he attempted to board a yacht using a fake passport. Our divorce proceeded with minimal conflict. Amanda, facing potential legal consequences and professional ostracism, had little fight left for property disputes. My documentation of her infidelity and financial misconduct ensured a settlement that protected my business and primary assets. She received a fair division according to state law, but none of the excessive demands she might have made under different circumstances. The Westbrook contract became the turning point for my construction company. Our meticulous work on the model homes led to additional projects, and within a year, I had doubled my workforce and expanded into commercial renovations. The reputation for integrity I had established before and during the Prestige scandal actually enhanced my business standing. Clients appreciated working with someone they could trust completely. 6 months after our divorce finalized, I sold our house and purchased a property I had always admired, 5 acres at the edge of town with a modest farmhouse that needed comprehensive renovation. The project became both my professional showcase and my personal therapy, transforming the neglected structure into a warm, welcoming home that reflected my values and taste. Throughout this period, I worked with a counselor to process the betrayal and rebuild my self-worth. Dr. Patterson helped me recognize that Amanda's assessment of me said everything about her character and nothing about mine. My contentment with honest work, my commitment to quality over status, my preference for authentic relationships over social climbing. These were strengths rather than failings. It was during the farmhouse renovation that I met Ellie, an architect who consulted on the structural changes. Unlike Amanda, she appreciated craftsmanship and understood the satisfaction of creating something tangible. We started with professional respect that gradually evolved into friendship and eventually into something more. "What I love about you, Bronson," she told me one evening as we sat on the porch swing I had built, "is how comfortable you are in your own skin. You know who you are, and you do not apologize for it." 1 year after Amanda's world collapsed, mine had been rebuilt stronger than before. The business thrived, my new home reflected my personal vision, and I had found a relationship based on mutual respect rather than superficial values. I heard about Amanda occasionally through mutual acquaintances. After struggling to find marketing work due to her association with the Prestige scandal, she had taken an entry-level position at a small local agency, earning less than she had when we first met. The luxury lifestyle she had coveted remained far out of reach. Jackson, following his extradition from Mexico, had agreed to a plea deal that still included significant prison time. Looking back on everything that happened, I recognized that, painful as it was discovering Amanda's true feelings, was ultimately a blessing. It freed me from a relationship with someone who never truly valued who I was. It allowed me to build a life of authenticity rather than performing for someone else's approval. The most surprising lesson was learning my own strength. I discovered I could face devastating betrayal without losing myself. I could rebuild without bitterness. I could find happiness that did not depend on impressing others or accumulating status symbols. In the end, karma delivered its own perfect justice. Amanda, who had been embarrassed by my blue-collar work and practical values, found herself abandoned by the sophisticated crowd she had sacrificed her integrity to join. The status and wealth she had pursued at any cost evaporated, while the honest business I had built with my calloused hands continued to thrive. The truest form of success, I came to understand, is not measured by country club memberships or luxury condos. It is built through integrity, authentic relationships, and work that brings personal satisfaction. Those who chase external validation will always find it fleeting, while those who remain true to themselves build something that lasts. Have you ever been underestimated by someone, only to watch them regret it later? Share your story in the comments below. If this video helped you see that sometimes losing someone who does not value you is actually gaining yourself back, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. And remember to share with someone who might need to hear that their worth is not determined by someone else's inability to see it. Thank you for listening to my story, and never settle for being someone's settlement.